Arkane Studios is one of the biggest development companies in modern gaming. They were founded in 1999 and they made a few games between 2002 and 2009 before they were acquired by ZeniMax Media, the parent company Bethesda, in 2010. Personally, looking at the list of games they released before 2012, I've never heard of them, so it would be safe to say that Arkane's big break came in the form of Dishonored in 2012. The game was released to pretty unanimous praise. From that point forward, Dishonored became the baby of Arkane. They followed it up by releasing the equally great Dishonored 2 in 2016, then the less great, but still pretty well reviewed on Metacritic, Dishonored Death of the Outsider in 2017. Lately, the Arkane name has been mostly in the news in regards to the shutdown of their Austin, Texas studio in May 2024. Now, I consider myself a pretty big gamer. However, I've never played a game by Arkane Studios, despite them having such big hits like the Dishonored series, Prey, and most recently, Deathloop. I decided it was time to change that, so why not jump in where they found their stride and start with Dishonored. I played through the main game, as well as the Knife at Dunwall and the Brigmore Witches DLCs. As always, I have some thoughts, so let's dive a little deeper into Dishonored. As I mentioned previously, Dishonored was developed by Arkane Studios, published by Bethesda Softworks, and was released on October 9th, 2012. It was released on PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and Windows PC. I played it on PC through PC Game Pass, so all footage you are seeing is on that platform and was recorded using OBS Studio. I also played a good chunk of this on my Lenovo Legion Go, and no surprise since it is a 12-year-old game, it ran mostly without any issues. More on that later. In Dishonored, you play as Corvo Attano, the bodyguard to Empress Jessamine Caldwin, the leader of the city of Dunwall, or should I say, former bodyguard, as the game opens with the assassination of Jessamine, and Corvo, despite trying to fend off the attackers, is falsely accused of the assassination and gets sent to prison, and is soon to be executed. However, with the help of a few mysterious figures, Corvo is able to break out of prison. From there, he begins to not only try and clear his name, but also rescue Jessamine's daughter Emily, who got kidnapped shortly after the assassination. Now, before I go any further, let me get this out of the way. I'm not good at stealth games. I know I'm not a bad video game player, and I can typically handle my own and then some in most games. However, with that being said, I'm not without my faults, and one of those faults is stealth games. I have no issue admitting that I am not good in stealth-focused games, or even just stealth in general. I have just never been able to effectively stealth my way through games or sections of games. I guess I don't have the digital awareness to effectively sneak my way around without being seen, and I was well aware of my shortcomings in stealth well before playing Dishonored, and I knew Dishonored was stealth-focused. And I just want to make sure you guys are aware of that beforehand, so you know this review is coming from the perspective of someone who is not good at stealth. Now let's talk about the game. By far and away, the coolest aspect of this game is the open-endedness in the mission design. I would not classify Dishonored as an open-world game, not even close. It is most definitely a quote-unquote mission-to-mission game, if you will. However, the freedom you are allowed in these missions is pretty unrivaled in my experience. Not only are there obviously main missions, but there are also side quests to do in these main mission areas. And doing these side quests can impact how you approach the main mission. You gain some info about a secret entrance, or someone you help leaves you something to aid you in your quest. For crying out loud, you don't even have to do a side mission to gain this type of info. You can learn this stuff just by eavesdropping on the right conversations. The sheer variety of ways Arkane gives you to attack your objective is honestly quite crazy. Another thing I'd like to shout out is the ability to fight your way out of situations. As someone who is not good at stealth games, a crucial part of my personal enjoyment in them is being able to keep going after my cover is blown. There are a lot of video game missions I have done that are stealth focused, where if I get seen, the mission is instantly failed, or it's so tough for me to fight my way out of it, I'm not able to do that. Dishonored, thankfully, makes it possible for me to keep going after my plan inevitably goes wrong. Despite me being awful at stealth games, I did play this on the hard difficulty because I ain't no bitch. One of the reasons the hard difficulty is hard is because enemies are more aware of you and you are easier to spot. But the enemies are also tougher to deal with in a straight up combat. And with the two of these combined, I died a lot playing Dishonored, but I never felt completely hopeless. I always knew that somehow, some way, I was able to get myself out of the situation I was in. And some people may not like that. A lot of diehard stealth fans may prefer harsher consequences to getting spotted, and that's totally fair. I can totally see where people are coming from with that. But like I said, I am awful at stealth, so I always like to have a way out when things go poorly for me. I will always try and be stealthy every chance I have, but frequently goes south for me. So it is important to me that someone of my lack of skills is able to play the game. Really, the only thing that I have that is objectively bad about Dishonored was some functionality issues I had. The first issue I want to discuss was on my Lenovo Legion Go. I was playing the Brigmore Witches DLC on the machine, and at one point I unsurprisingly died. However, what was surprising was the game just crashed. So I reloaded it and I tried to jump back in, but then I get a big long message saying a bunch of files are messing up and it would crash again and again. I even tried launching the main game, then loaded, which launched just fine, and then went back to the DLC and the issue persisted. I eventually closed out the game and the Xbox PC app entirely and let my Legion sit for like 10 minutes or so, and then fired the game back up and it worked properly. But a frustrating and worrying situation is I thought my game files were corrupted for whatever reason. The second issue, unlike the first one, happened way more often than once on both my PC and my Lenovo, and it would be the simple issue of no audio, of which I had to close out the game, sometimes several times, relaunch it, and eventually the audio would just come back. But what was really confusing about this was that the pre-roll of these studios and like the showcase of like Bethesda, Arkane, blah blah blah, when that would play, that would have audio every single time. And it wasn't until I actually got to the Dishonored menu that this no audio bug would happen. And again, this was honestly a frequent glitch, and I'd say about like 50% of the time this happened. But that's really all I got to say on like the main game and technical issues. But now I want to talk about the DLC for a little bit. So there were two DLCs for Dishonored that came in the like definitive edition or whatever that I played on PC Game Pass. Actually, technically three, but I didn't touch the Towers of Dunwall. The two I played were The Knife of Dunwall and The Witches of Brigmore. I'm going to be talking about these ones as one entity, since Witches is a continuation of the story in Knife. But in these DLCs, you play as Dowd, who, without spoiling anything, is an important character from the main game, and it is simply just more backstory on him and what he's up to during the main game when he's not on screen. I could go deeper than that, but I don't want to spoil anything in case you guys really want to check these games out. One thing I do want to discuss is that the DLCs are not really gameplay expansions. The gameplay is virtually identical with a couple of minor changes. However, where the DLC shines is in the story that takes place, and I prefer the story of these DLCs more than the main game, but in a weird way, I feel that way thanks to the main game. As Corvo in the main game, you have the opportunity to impact Dowd profoundly in one or two specific ways. And after playing the DLC, I wish I had chose the option I didn't choose originally. I feel these DLCs really give what was previously a kind of one-dimensional character some real history and really change my feelings about him. And you really don't even have to play the main game before these if you don't want to. You might get a little spoiled for you if you did play the DLCs for the main game, but for a little more backstory on him, some may view that as worth it. So the DLC's story was great, but I would have liked at least a little bit of gameplay variation in one form or another. Even the abilities that were like 99% the same. So all in all, despite the immensely high praise for Dishonored, I wasn't too impressed in many aspects, but also very impressed in others. I believe a lot of the reason I don't really love this game is purely down to me not being good at stealth games. It's kind of hard for people to be good at something they're bad at. But that does not mean I can't appreciate it for what it is. Although it may not be my cup of tea, it is very easy to see why this game got such high praise. And make no mistake, I did have fun with this game. I didn't hate it, but I also didn't really love it. In summary, Dishonored was a good time, a sneaky little romp, but at the end of the day, I will have absolutely no desire to ever play this game ever again. But I do think Dishonored 2 earned a go out of me.
Whiskey and cigars tonight? Chances are very good.
So Dishonored isn't my cup of tea, but don't take it from me, it may be yours. I encourage you to check it out. But thank you for your time and attention for watching this video. I do appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and like the video. A small click like that goes a long way for me. As alluded to at the end there, I fully intend to play through the rest of the Dishonored series, but that is going on the back burner for now, as there are a lot of games coming out in September and early October I want to play and talk about with you guys. The first of which being Astrobot, and at the time of writing, I'm about like 4 or 5 hours into that. And spoiler alert, the only way for me to describe it right now is fucking incredible. There's no other words for it. And I'm absolutely stoked to make a video on this game and talk to you guys about it. So subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that video when it comes out, or any other food video I may put out, or something else. I've always got ideas brewing. Lastly, don't forget to comment down below and have a discussion about Dishonored. As someone who's not a huge fan of this game, I'd love to hear what you guys did like about it. Let's talk about it down there. So I'll talk to you guys in the comments. But with all that being said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.